take a feather and you strip that off, and that's what you put on the arrow. They'll never get out of shape. Now she knows it, and she got her bow and arrow all completed.
Huh. How did you know how to make that?
Well, just the way they told me how to fix that. And I watched an old timer fix his bow and arrow, and that's how come I knew. And there's a fairy tale story about how to go about it to fix the bow and arrow, and that's how I learned that too. But that's a long story.
Yeah.
They don't get them all in one place. You get one thing from another place, you get something else from another, like those flints. There's certain place where they go to pick out. 2 or 3 years ago, this Mary and Michelle went up to the place they call on top of the world. That's where they get that flint. And she didn't take anything. She just what the old timers had chipped off, and what there was on the ground, she picked them up. And I don't know, why didn't you prepare when you went up there? Should have get a hammer and chisel.
Get your own.
She went up there again last week sometime. She went up there again to get them.
Top of the world, they call it, the highest
to get some more of that flint.
That's where they go. They just went there again here last week, her and her daughter and several other guys. And see, her daughter's the chief of that reserve. She's the chief of all the 5 bands over there. And she is a very young woman. You know her, don't you?
Yeah.
Sophie me.
Yeah, she was at that Kerr vigil.
Yeah, she is a smart lady.
Yeah, made a good speech then.
Yes.
Yeah. Alec, I was wondering if you could just say again what you were saying when we were off camera about the way in which so many of the things that Indian people have now are made by whites, or aren't things that Indians themselves have made.
But
remember, you were telling me about how white people go in and look in the TV.
Yeah, I was telling my friend, he's gone now, they call him Mitch Smallsalmon. He was an old timer from Ronan, and I was telling him those people pay to come in to the powwow to look at how people lived. And they go in there and they say in this tape, oh, they'll go back home and tell their people, I went to Early Powwow. I looked at their Indian camp there, and I seen their teepee, and I've seen everything inside, with their beddings and everything. But look what they see, the cannabis teepee, that's the white people's things, that cannabis. Before that, they use elk hides. They tan it for teepee. And when they looked into the teepee, and then they see those beddings, Pendleton blankets and quilts and different things like that. And that's white people's things. And they go out, and the old lady would be sitting there by the fire cooking, and they'd have those pots, white people's pots in the fire, coffee pot, and they'd have it in the fire, making a bannock. They have a frying pan to make this Indian bannocks. And all those, what they're cooking, they're white men food, like potatoes. Of course, there's some potatoes around here, but they're small, They dig them, and there was potatoes here before white people came. Carrots, there is carrots, wild carrots. And and they'd look at their clothes and their dresses and pants and shirt. That's all white people's outfit. And when they go into where they're war dancing, all those things they use, except the feathers, their eagle feathers, and some of them even use the imitation eagle feathers, and all those things that they have on, it's all white people made of their outfit. Some, their shirts and stuff, and those beaded things, they're white people's things. They use different kind of things to decorate their outfit with a long time ago. There are different kind of beads, different kind of things they use. And they think they've seen something great. They get back home and tell their friends what they see in Arlene. That's they're all modern, you know. Nothing like old time ways of living.
Do you think that starting to use all these white man's materials and becoming dependent on things like that, do you think that hurt Indian people?
Answer that.
That's a hard question.
What is it? What do you exactly mean?
Well,
do they hurt them?
In other words, you know, a lot of times whites will say, "Oh, look, these things are progress.
Yeah.
They help us."
Yeah.
And in some ways, it is easier to maybe cut something with scissors. Or,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering if you think that these things help or hurt, or both.
Well, the only way I could say is that I know for sure we'll never go back and live like the olden days at the beginning of time, how they used to do, and they didn't feel that they were struggling or stuff like that, because it was given to them from the beginning of time that it's the way they were going to live. And they lived through it, they lived by it, and they thought that was easy for them.
Yeah, they think.
But us, the new generation, young generation, they're spoiled. They wouldn't, I don't know if they would ever survive, if they would have to be told, you go back and you start all over again and do what your ancestors used to do. I don't know if they would, because they're too much sweepy way now that I don't know if they would even like this. I said the other day, when I teach in the winter, I teach sign language, and he teaches songs, and Helen Charlotte teaches our language over in Pablo. And when I don't have 5 students, it won't pass. I can't teach. I have to have at least 5 students before I carry on, and same with him and Helen. And if it wasn't for my grandchildren's last winter, I wouldn't have any students. They were the ones that come and set in to find out to learn the sign language, what I was teaching. Same thing with him. Same bunch used to come. Kathy Hamel, her daughters, my daughter's daughters were the ones that were interested. All except one outsider was that Jap boy. What is his name? He lives around Pablo or wherever over there. Forget his name. He's got a hard name. He is interested in that. He comes and sits in all the time. And then maybe a few others, you know, that. Now, that's what I mean, that if they were to go back from the beginning of time, if they would live that, would they survive? But then that's what was that was given to us to live, and our ancestors survived through that, and they were happy because there was no other way, you know, and they had to do it. So I don't know if
What about you? If do you think that you could survive if you had
I
to go?
would.
Uh-huh.
I sure would. Because many times in my home, sometimes I cook Indian way, and we were satisfied. We were not losing anything on the table. And different times I cook Suyapi way, you know. And I always say I'd survive if I was sent back from the beginning of time. If I have to live like old timers, I'd survive because I understand and I like Indian food. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, the college people sent Nancy out camping, and they took us along. We're supposed to camp out, but it was kind of early in the spring. It was kind of cold yet, and at night we used to come back in the evening, go back over there during the day. But this Mary and Michelle, she stayed right there with the kids, and she had Nancy had some students, you know, to show them the Indian way of living in the teepee and the Indian ways of eating Indian food. And like each meal, certain ones, a couple of them would make a bannock or fried bread, and next meal, different ones, just so they learn how to make the bannocks. And all different things like that. But still, it's the same, you know, we had some winners and stuff like that, and roast some winners and different things. And it's still not the all Indian way of living. But they were satisfied, the college people were satisfied because we took them kids out there camping and showed them how to cook Indian food and stuff like that. How to put up teepee.
If you had the choice between living in that older way or living as you do now, which would you choose?
My part, I take the old-time way of living.
I would too. Yeah.
But the way I am, I can't even do my chores around the camp.
The reason why I say that I would like to go back from the beginning of time and live Indian ways, because right at the present time I don't have any money to be, at times, you know, and to buy this and buy that, and they're so expensive and all. Reagan up everything, and here we're suffering. And if the olden days, they never used money. They had no use for money. Money was nothing. And where they didn't see money either. Everything that they survive on was the wild games, wild berries, wild everything. And still they survive. They don't sit there one day and think, where am I going to get money tomorrow to survive, to buy me this, buy me that, and things like that. And their journeys, their legs were their transportation. They used to walk before there were cows, horses came. Horses and cows come from old country. They just ship them over here. And the Indians here didn't have that. So that's what I mean. I'd be happy to go back there, so I wouldn't be wishing for money. So where I'm going to get my groceries, my grub. Because if that was the only way they live, they hunt every day. Hunt, and this country was just full of game. Because no one else used to use it, only Indians. And there wasn't that many people in America and United States, I would say too. But now you go out where, in my young days, where I used to go, I'd go along
And just like within 2 miles, I'd see about 10 deer right alongside when I go out in the sticks, out in the timber, out in the forest. But right today, I can go from here clear to Spokane or go this other way or where. I won't even see one deer anywhere. Whenever I do, it's in the evening and I'll see just one. Deer's getting scarce right now, you know.
Would you hope?
Like when I was teaching, when I got through with them songs, like New Year's jump dance songs, I got through with all of them and different doings of songs, and when I got through with them, and from there on, I said from now on, we'll just sit together and just talk about putting everything, and whatever you want to know, ask me, and I'll tell you about it. That is, if I know, I don't know too much. Just a little bit that I know of Indian ways of living. If I know, I'll tell you. But don't feel bad when you ask me something. When I say I don't know that, no, don't feel bad because I don't know too much. And that's when they started asking us questions about different things, and because they were paying us before that. Before we started getting paid for what we're doing, I used to tell the people, whenever we'd get together, and I'd get up and tell the people, I won't last very long. I'm getting right up there, and I'm not going to live forever. When I'm gone, there's going to be nothing left that you guys would go and ask anybody. There's nobody besides us two. When we're gone, everything's going to die with us. So ask me now, and if I know it, I'll tell you. But they don't come around. That was before we started getting paid for that. And I used to tell them to come over and ask, even just one girl or one boy, they'd come over and knock on the door, come in, they come in and, well, this is what I want to know. And they'd ask, and I'd tell them, but no, they don't come around. They don't care for it. Now we started getting paid for what we're doing. We started getting stingy with our stories and different things. Before that, I used to try to encourage them to go back on the old ways of.
So that's the best world that you could hope for your grandchildren would be to be able to have those old ways.
Yeah, like now, when somebody get up and they'd say, this is what Jerome, or this is what Costada, Chief Costada and Chief Mathias, this is what they used to tell us. And people never used to listen to them, just certain ones. Now they get up and say, this is what they used to tell us. It'll be the same with us. When we're gone, somebody will get up, this is what Alec or Adeline used to say. Well, just a hearsay. They don't come around and ask.
That's being fixed now, though.
Yeah. Well, as he said, there's quite a few right there at the culture. We've done quite a few already.
Yeah.
And we really did lose a good person when he lost his sister Mary.
Mary Andrews.
Yes, she knew, I believe she knew more than we did. Of course, she was a little older than we are.
She's related to Joanne Teast?
No, my sister Mary Andrews.
Mary Andrews,
your sister,
yeah. Yeah, that's his sister.
Well, I'd like to ask a question. I was wondering about this when you were talking about allotment earlier on, and about, you know, people getting their allotments. I'd like to know more about how the Kootenays distributed land among their people before white people were here. From what I understand, there wasn't individual ownership of land. That there was this land and people shared that. Could you tell me about that?
No, that's the way it was. They used to, before this reservation line was thrown open, see the reservation line, it just lies right through here within about 3 miles from here, up on this side of Proctor. And Proctor's store isn't too far away, and the reservation's on this side. I would say where I'm sitting is only 3 miles up, where the reservation is. And them olden days that people used to live past that all over. And even some of them used to live in the sticks, out in the forest too. There's 2 meadows up there, and each one of them have a name that they call them the people's names that used to own it and live there. And all throughout, and they would just go and claim so much, so many acres maybe. They didn't know what acres were. So they just grab whatever they think they want to, you know, use, whatever. And the really olden days, you know, that they had no, you know, they didn't farm too much then, those. But they own it, and if another person come along and says, hey, how about a piece of that? That's better. It's opening there because it's so thick here. And this guy says, go ahead, do what you want. So, you know, share and share alike. We're the Indians. You know, that's how it was. Till when they come and start the reservation, and they started giving out allotments. And now when I spoke about this piece of land across here belonged to Chief Big Knife, that's when he got it. And then the rest started getting their allotments. And therefore, after that, you cannot give and you cannot take. So yours was yours, hers was theirs, see? But before that, it was just for everybody. Anybody, anyone can move over here, start living there if they want, if they like the area. That's how it was.
And when the first put in the